In this second video on calculating angles, we are going to use all the rules and recognizing the rules of video 1 to actually calculate angles in some triangles. So a very brief recap: all the rules: straight angles, right angles, opposite angles, the angle sum of a triangle, and the isosceles triangles and equilateral triangles have equal angles. So we're going to use not all of these rules in this video, but we are going to look at some of them to actually use them calculating angles. So we've got this triangle A, B, and C, and we can see that angle A is 35 degrees. We can see that angle B is 42 degrees, and the question is calculate angle C. So the main thing to use here is we've got a triangle, so we know angle A, B, C together, added together, the sum of them is 180 degrees. So we write that down. We write angle A plus angle B plus angle C is 180 degrees. Or we can already go to the next step. Angle C is 180 minus the other two, because the three of them together are 180. That means that angle C is 180 minus all the other ones, so it's always what's left after we already have the first two angles. And we have to write the rule we use. We always have to add the rule we use. So we're using the angle sum of the triangle, and we abbreviate that to AST, just because it's shorter to write. So AST means angle sum triangle, but we always have to write down the rule we use. We use that all the angles in the triangle are 180 degree, so that's what we write down. Well, I know angle A and angle B, so angle A was 35, angle B was 42, so angle C is 180 minus 35 minus 42, and that becomes 103 degrees. So now we know angle C is 103 degrees. So that's the basic example of the angle sum triangle. The second example is more difficult, and we're gonna have to use more rules. We've got this picture. We can see P, Q, R, R1 and R2, and R2 is 130 degrees. That's what's given in this figure. So let's look at some of the things we can recognize to use. We obviously have a triangle PQR, so we know that P, Q and R1 together are 180 degrees. We have two lines here and two lines here, so we have to recognize this as PQR being an isosceles triangle. And because PR is equal to QR, that means that the base angles in this isosceles triangle have to be P and Q. It's where the equal angles don't meet, where the equal sides meet. That's the vertex angle. The other two angles are the base angles. So angle P and angle Q are equal. So we can write that down, and we can say that that's because this is an isosceles triangle. Or you can write down because they're base angles. So you can write isosceles triangle or base angles. But P and Q are equal. So always write stuff like that down. It just helps you because we can use it later, probably because we'll have to calculate angle Q. And if you do this on the test, you will get points for writing stuff like this down. So even if you don't exactly know how to use it yet, write the stuff down that you recognize, because it's going to be useful and you will get points for it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, here we can see the straight line. It continues through vertex R, so we can see that this is a straight angle. So R1 and R2, or R1, 2, which means R1 and R2 together, is 180 degrees. So that's a straight angle. We're using the rule that it's a straight angle. That's 180 degrees. That's why it's 180 degrees. So we have to write it down. But we also recognize that that's R1 and R2. So we're going to use that. So we write it down. Because I know R2 is 130 degrees, which means that R1 is 180 minus 130 degrees, because together they're 180. So R1 has to be 50 degrees. We already wrote down that they're a straight angle together, so we don't have to add it another time, because it's the same straight angle. If we use a different straight angle later on, then we do have to add it again. So now we know R1. R1 is 50 degrees. If you have a figure, if you can draw stuff on it, it's always useful to add in the angles we know, because it helps to see the stuff we need, we still can use it for. So now we know that R1 is 50 degrees, and as already mentioned, P, Q and R is a triangle, so P and Q and R1 together are 180 degrees, so that's because of the angle sum of the triangle. So now we can continue, because that means that P and Q together are 180 minus 50 is 130. Angle R1 is 50, we just calculated it, so P and Q together are what's left to make 180, so that's 130. And then we can use that P and Q are the same, that's why we started with that. You can also put it here, but you have to put it somewhere, because now we know P and Q together are 130 degrees, and we know they are equal, we know they are the same, which means that both of them have to be half of the total of P and Q. So angle Q is 130 divided by 2, and that's 65 degrees. So angle P is also 65 degrees, but in this case the question was angle Q, so we just write down angle Q. But that's because we already wrote down that P and Q are the same, so we have to add that to it. Okay, so that was this video on calculating angles using some of the rules we have discussed in part 1.